Have you ever wondered what it was like to operate the colossal machinery that shaped our modern world? Imagine controlling a 70-ton beast with 524 horsepower, or witnessing the birth of a machine that redefined farming. Join us as we dive into the fascinating history of legendary construction giants like the Allis-Chalmers HD41 bulldozer and groundbreaking innovations like the Frolic tractor. From record-breaking power to revolutionary designs, these machines paved the way for today's marvels. Stay tuned to uncover the stories behind these mechanical titans and see how they transformed industries forever. Watching the forerunners of the massive construction machinery of today was highly recommended. Although they have enormous status now, when they were first introduced as the most cutting-edge solutions, possession of them was considered a privilege. The massive Allis-Chalmers HD41 bulldozer, which weighs 70 tons and has 524 horsepower, is up first. The largest machine of its day, the crawler tractor, garnered media attention. With the debut of the HD41 crawler tractor at the 1963 Chicago Roadshow, Allis-Chalmers hinted to what lay ahead. The largest tractor ever constructed at the time, this 70-ton, 524 horsepower beast caused a stir. But this was only an early look. Allis-Chalmers aimed to lower costs per cubic yard and guarantee the dozer would function dependably. After a short premiere, a full development period that involved multiple prototypes tested under different conditions followed. Customers didn't witness it reach full output until 1970. In terms of its past, Allis-Chalmers started manufacturing diesel-powered tractors with General Motors engines in 1938. To replace the older oil tractors, they introduced three models by 1940, the HD7, HD10 and HD14. With 132 drawbar horsepower, the HD14 was the biggest and most potent crawler tractor available at the time. With its 1945 update, it also became the first crawler equipped with a torque converter. When Allis-Chalmers produced the 25-ton, 163 horsepower HD19 with a dozer blade in 1947, they broke yet another world record. A torque converter and a four-cycle, turbocharged Cummins VT1710C diesel engine powered the HD41. With a top speed of 6.5 mph, the power shift transmission provided 3 forward and backward speeds. Bulldozer blades up to 20 feet broad in semi-U and full U designs, as well as a padded push block for push-loading scrapers, were optional additions. Presenting the classic Cat D6 next. The D6, which made its debut in the late 1930s, was upgraded with an engine in the late 1940s. While the D6 is still in production, later models have suffixes like D6C on their labels. This model is genuine. The D6 had a 6-cylinder engine instead of a 4-cylinder engine, like its counterpart, the D4. Compared to the original Cat engine's 900 RPM, this high-speed engine could achieve 1200 RPM. The starting engine on early models was a gas engine with 2 cylinders arranged horizontally and mounted atop the bell enclosure. Either a 6-volt electric starter or a rope start might be used to start it. Prior to engaging a pinion into the main engine flywheel and engaging a clutch to start the main engine, the pony engine had to be manually or electrically started. You opened the throttle of the main engine after it started, and if all went according to plan, you could cut off the starting engine. In addition to starting the main engine, the beginning engine circulated water to the main engine head because it was housed in the same water jacket. This water also warmed the fuel filter system. To heat the air for the diesel engine, exhaust from the beginning engine was directed via the intake manifold. The Cat engine could operate in inclement weather because to these qualities. However, anything below freezing was difficult for early diesel engines since diesel fuels improved and severe cold was seen in fewer places. In later models, Cat started to provide direct electric start. Large batteries and an electronic starting motor took the place of the starting engine, enabling the now familiar convenience of push-button starting. Let's move on to the 1964 Euclid TC12 dozer's superiority. Companies take significant risks when they introduce something radically novel. When it was introduced in 1955, the legendary Euclid TC12 dozer revolutionized crawlers. Their goal had been to unseat Caterpillar from the top position. It wasn't a complete failure, even though it didn't succeed. In the 1920s, Euclid branched out into earth-moving machinery, and by the early 1950s, it was at the forefront of the construction equipment market. GM purchased Euclid because it needed additional funding and had aging leaders. The sale was overseen by George Armington, who was in his 80s at the time. His son Ray ran GM's Euclid division until 1960. The TC12 was heavier and larger than comparable crawlers, making transportation challenging. Euclid made things easier by engineering the TC12 to split into two halves for transportation, as it would have been 30 to 35 tons without the blade. The TC12 fit in better as larger equipment became more widely used. The TC12-2, which increased the engine's output to 227 horsepower apiece, was the first significant improvement introduced in 1958. The Oliver OC3 crawler tractor then came equipped with a hydraulic front blade and a box blade at the rear. It was powered by a Hercules gas engine that produced 25 horsepower when operating at peak efficiency, despite the fairly complicated configuration of pipes and hoses. Established in 1911 and later renamed as Cletrac, the Cleveland Tractor Company started manufacturing bulldozers that were competitive with models from Allis-Chalmers and Caterpillar. The engine that powers it is called Hercules. An engine that bears the name of a real-life renowned hero can help you track it more accurately. At 1700 RPM, its 2.2L four-cylinder gasoline engine produced 29 horsepower. This machine did tasks like clearing land, hauling big goods and plow fields with ease. It also measured 8.3 feet long, 4.36 feet wide, and 4.19 feet tall, with a 12-gallon gasoline tank. In 1944, Oliver Equipment Company acquired Cleveland Tractor Company to join the crawler tractor business. Cleveland Tractor Company, Cletrac, well known for its dependable tractors used in farming, logging, and construction, manufactured the popular Cletrac HG crawler between 1939 and 1951. The Oliver OC3, which was produced from 1951 to 1957, used the same four-cylinder 22 horsepower Hercules engine as the Cletrac HG. The tractor was redesigned in 1955 to use the Oliver 55 farm tractor's flat-nose form. Oliver Cletrac OC3 was a multi-purpose construction and agricultural utility crawler with attachments such as a V-type snowplow, belt pulley, multiple loader buckets, dozer blades, and a PTO shaft. 4 track widths, several track treads, cabs, and electric lights were among the extra amenities. Lights were an optional extra, but the standard OC3 Industrial with a 42-inch track width came with an electric starter. Now let's talk about another vintage gem, the 1969 Caterpillar 977K track loader. Its predecessor, the Cat 977, was first available in the market in 1955 or 1956 and rapidly established a solid reputation for being a strong and dependable machine for medium to large-scale earth-moving tasks. It's interesting to note that this machine uses a pusher blade rather than the typical loading bucket. In 1966, the USA saw the introduction of the 977K model, which was then produced in Japan the following year, and in Scotland shortly thereafter for the UK and European markets. The 977K was equipped with a more potent 170 horsepower 6-cylinder Cat D3T3 turbocharged engine. An electric start and pedal steer system were among the standard features that made it easier for operators to manage the 977 in confined places. Another unique feature of the 46H unit is the walk-through operator's compartment. which provides the driver with unlimited access to the controls. Remarkably, Caterpillar switched from the 977K to the 977L in 1971. The updated model included a rollover prevention system in addition to increased horsepower. The 977K's timeless style, durability, and adaptability won many enthusiasts. Producing more than 22,000 units, it was a major influence on the development of the contemporary building sector. Similar to several antique devices, the 977K made numerous contributions to global infrastructure initiatives. The 977K track loader was exceptional due to its powerful engine, sophisticated transmission, and features that were easy to use. These machines are still in use by a few lucky owners, and their continued performance, even after 50 years, is demonstrated by the noise they produce when they are started or run. Next is an extremely ancient but fascinating device. During the 1920s, country roads were frequently maintained using the pull grader, which was pulled by a crawler tractor. The largest model offered by the business at the time was the Caterpillar 66 pull grader, which required two operators, one for the tractor and one for the grader. The combined length of the grader and tractor made turning corners and making tight turns difficult. Although grader blade attachments on smaller gas tractors were more nimble, two operators were still required. Remarkably, even after a century, these ancient devices may still be more effective than certain contemporary machinery. This grader, which was Caterpillar's largest model at the time and was pulled by a crawler tractor, was essential to the upkeep of rural roads throughout the United States. In contrast to modern motor graders, the 66 needed two operators to function well. The 66 performed grading jobs with ease, despite having a basic and ineffective power source. Its 12-foot wide blade with a smooth bolt-on cutting edge was one of its most notable features. It made it simpler to cover huge areas and guarantee level, smooth roads for both cars and pedestrians. The original 66 model, denoted by the 6CSN prefix, had twin frame rails and was offered with power and hand control options. The second iteration, referred to as the single frame model but still bearing the number 66, had a single frame rail. This type, which had the 5E prefix, was also produced with rubber or steel tires and with manual or power controls. Caterpillar introduced the Auto Patrol motor grader, a single operator machine, in the early 1930s. Caterpillar introduced its first diesel-powered motor graders in 1938 and 1939. Of the three types that Caterpillar offered at the time, the 212 Auto Patrol motor grader is the smallest. Let's move on to the early 20th century tractor now. R. Rollin White, a vehicle manufacturer, saw an opportunity to get into the growing tractor market at the beginning of the 1910s. However, White's goals went beyond simply creating another tractor. Following his trial with a wheeled model, he concluded that farmers in the Midwest required a crawler tractor that was strong, lightweight, and reasonably priced. When the first Cleveland Tractor Company crawler was introduced in 1916, he fulfilled all of these requirements and then some. The Model W220, which changed the game and made Cleveland Motors and its Cletrac tractors significant players in the crawler industry, swiftly succeeded the original model in 1918. The impact of this maneuver was so great that it forced crawler giant Holt to add models such as the Caterpillar 10 to his range. The Model W's low price of $1,385 was one of its primary draws. By contrast, the 1918 Fordson tractor, which provided horsepower to a great number of farmers, sold for $785. The W220's minimum soil compaction, which had a major positive impact on crop yields, was another fantastic attribute. Crop cultivation also saw a significant increase in efficiency of up to 100 times. But the Fordson was primitive and the Model W was sophisticated when the Model F was unveiled. For its time, the Cletrac crawler, which included the Model W, was regarded as quite sophisticated. It also had a planetary gear system and a regulated differential steering device that allowed power to get to both tracks even when turning. The Model W was more effective because of its design, which also lessened berming or soil disturbance. This was known by Cleveland as the True Track system, and it was adopted as a norm for Cletrac crawlers in the future. Next, the account of a groundbreaking endeavor. A great breakthrough in agriculture was made by John Froelich in a town in northeast Iowa in 1892. He invented what is today known as a tractor, the first gasoline-powered engine that could move both forward and backward. Prior to this invention, farming involved a lot of labor and was dependent on large, heavy steam engines that may start forest fires because of their inconvenient design. Froelich realized that a better answer was required. The Froelich tractor was an innovation of Froelich that had a straightforward name but an innovative design. It combined two power sources into one more manageable unit by mounting a one-cylinder engine on the running gear of a steam engine. Even though its specifications may seem minor in the modern era, this machine represented a huge improvement over the dangerous steam engines of the past and was much easier to manage. Consider the Froelich tractor to be the forerunner of contemporary tractors. Froelich tested his device in South Dakota, where he was able to thresh about 72,000 bushels of tiny grain with remarkable success. This accomplishment suggested a new phase in farming. It was difficult to sell the tractor, despite its potential. There were just 2 units sold after it was approved by the Waterloo Gasoline Traction Engine Company. After years of development, the company didn't release the Froelich tractor's LA model until 1913. At first, the complexity of this tractor seemed too much for the world to handle. But with the Waterloo Boy tractor, they struck gold a year later. This machine measured 5.97 feet in width, 5.24 feet in height, and weighed 6,000 pounds. The vehicle was equipped with a Waterloo Gasoline Engine Company 7.6L 2-cylinder kerosene engine, a 20-gallon fuel tank, an unsynchronized gear transmission, and a 4-start crank. Early in the 20th century, this model served as a prediction for the future of farming. Going straight to the next device, early 1960s technological developments led to the creation of the 295 pay scraper. With its revolutionary design and potent performance, this new model not only superseded older models like the 275, but also completely changed the industry. This amazing machine was presented by International Harvester in 1962 and featured the brand new IH model DT817T engine. This 6-cylinder diesel engine with turbocharger transformed construction equipment with its powerful 375 horsepower and Allison 4-speed power shift transmission. Remarkably, the maximum velocity reached was 26 meters per palm, which was remarkable during that era. The 295 featured a fixed kingpin with a ring gear at its base that connected the tractor and scraper portions. The machine could turn 90 degrees left or right thanks to 2 hydraulic steering cylinders with teeth carved into their extensions. Like any new machinery, there were some difficulties with the first model. Because steering problems were frequent, the 295B model was updated. Similar to the 495, this version had a bowl, but the 295 had complete cable control. With ease, the 295B could manage 31 cubic yards when stacked and 24 cubic yards when struck. International Harvester, though, set higher goals. The heap capacity was increased to 34 cubic yards and 2 separate bowl assemblies were created by redesigning the cable control system. The DT817 engines after cooling contributed to the 295B's increased horsepower, and it was equipped with an Allison 6-speed or an 11-speed twin-disc power shift transmission. The original model's wear and tear problems were resolved with a comprehensive redesign that drew inspiration from Euclid's follow-up system. International introduced the E295 with a 32 cubic yard capacity, pushing the envelope even more. Regretfully, the manufacturing of this model was limited to a mere 3.5 years. The 295 series had fierce rivalry from formidable machines such as the Caterpillar 631 and Euclid S24. Up until the 95 series discontinuation in 1974, the 295B was being manufactured and did a great job at it. Let's go on to the final device, which is quite old and magnificent. When Caterpillar was founded in 1925, one of the first models in its lineup was the Caterpillar 2-ton. It joined the ranks of the best lines 30 and 60, as well as the Holt lines 5 and 10 tons. The 2-ton, which came from the Holt stable, was basically the same as the Holt T35, which debuted in 1921. It was made in Peoria with serial numbers 7001 and higher, and was constructed in California with numbers 2523 to 26313. The 2-ton was ahead of its time in many respects. It had oil-cooled steering and an overhead camshaft engine. It was also the final tractor with the distinctive feature of track shoes that were cast right into the rails. Remarkably, the gearbox was positioned at the back of the machine behind the crown wheel, as opposed to between the flywheel clutch and the crown wheel. An early Holt T35 radiator was installed in the Caterpillar 2-ton. The Holt T35 used riveted track frames as opposed to cast ones, like the Caterpillar 2-ton. The Holt 2-ton tractor, weighing in excess of 5,000 pounds, may seem heavy by modern standards, but in 1921 it was regarded as rather tiny. Smaller, more affordable farm equipment became more and more in demand as California's agricultural environment changed to incorporate more specialized crops. Smaller farms, orchards and vineyards were difficult to manage with larger tractors that made it difficult to get between vineyard rows or beneath tree branches until the introduction of the Holt 2-ton tractor. The Holt 2-ton tractor was small in size, used little fuel, required little ground pressure, and had cheap running expenses. It was praised for its excellent traction, robustness, and productivity despite its diminutive size. Due to its great popularity, this design was produced up to 1925. The Holt 2-ton design was improved upon with the founding of the Caterpillar Tractor Company, which went on to produce comparable tractors under the Caterpillar 2-ton name until 1928. This significant tractor was eventually replaced by the more compact and contemporary Caterpillar 20, which solidified its place in agricultural history. This brings an end to today's video. Please leave your comments below with your thoughts on these antiquated devices. For more bizarre and fascinating insights on magical machines, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. If you have enjoyed this video, then you will definitely enjoy the video showing on your screen right now. Click now, and we will see you in the next one.